Good evening to everyone joining us on Facebook Live today. And to everyone who is joining, I would like to wish a happy World Wildlife Day to everyone. So at Slike and Trust, we have organized a small session to educate our viewers on the biodiversity of Sri Lanka. So today during my presentation, I would be talking mainly on the biodiversity of Sri Lanka, the threats faced by the biodiversity of Sri Lanka, and also the impacts of climate change on the biodiversity, as well as finally, I would focus on the work that has Like and Trust has done to protect the biodiversity. So moving on, I would like to talk the biodiversity of Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka is one of the 34 biodiversity hotspots identified in the world. A hotspot is a place where there is a high biodiversity, and also there is a major threat to the existing biodiversity, mainly due to anthropogenic activities. And also Sri Lanka is considered as the richest country in the Asian region in terms of species concentration. For example, if you compare with India, India is 50 times larger than Sri Lanka. But within a 1 square meter, more species could be recorded in Sri Lanka other than in other countries around the Asian region. Also, the endemic species within the country is really high. About 41% of the fish present are endemic to the country, 65% of amphibians, 52% of reptiles, 10% of birds, and over 80% of land snails are endemic to the country. So to give a brief idea on the species available in Sri Lanka is a home for over 500 species of birds, out of which 34 are endemic to the region. Also, it is a home for 248 species of butterflies, out of which 31 are endemic. Currently, there are 108 species of snakes, close to 60 endemic species, and within the near future, roughly about 20 to 30 species would be added into that list. And also, the country is a home for over 100 species of amphibians. But over the past decade, Sri Lanka has there have been many issues which has increased the threat to the biodiversity and wildlife of the country. In the following slides, I'll be explaining a few of these. So these threats can be divided into two main parts, which are natural and anthropogenic. Under natural, it could be floods, droughts, excessive rainfall, change in rain patterns. These were natural, but due to human activities, the intensity of these has increased, which has majorly affected the biodiversity and wildlife in the country. Then there are many anthropogenic activities which has been caused over the past years, which has directly affected the country's rich biodiversity and wildlife. These are some few examples. To begin with, deforestation. Deforestation actually has been a major threat in the country over the past years. Roughly 26% of the forest cover has been reduced over the 15 years. This is mainly due to the development of settlements and industrialization, and also clearing of land for agricultural purposes. This has directly affected the habitats of these species. Then moving on to habitat fragmentation. Habitat fragmentation process is when there is a high building of roads. In the country has many roads has been built, which has built within the forests. This has separated forest, and the animals are finding difficulties from moving from one forest to another. This causes threats like animal conflict. Also, the building of high electricity lines, high tension lines also causes habitat fragmentation. Actually, when a high tension line is built in a forest region, all the trees in the area are cleared. This is a major issue in the area. Another major problem is the spread of invasive species. As you would know, in the first photograph, the ornamental fish, a tank cleaner which is grown in homes, has escaped to the fresh waters in the country and has deprived the food which is there for the freshwater fishes, and has reduced the diversity. And also on the right, the diagram shows a species which grows on the fresh water of the country on the surface, which in singular we term is as Japan Jabara, where it grows on the surface and it deprives the bottom surface of sunlight and decreases diversity. And also, I have included a photograph of a cacti species which is grown in the Bundala National Park, which has a huge threat and has been growing in large amounts, and is causing a huge threat to the area. And also pollution could be in the form of three, which could be water, soil, and air. So in Sri Lanka, the discharge of chemical waste to the waterways and also in the coastal ecosystems. Mainly the oil spills is a major threat to the country's biodiversity and the coastal ecosystems. There have been several cases which has made a huge threat and impact for the coastal areas of the country, and also as due to industrialization, especially the emitting of carbon dioxide and other chemical gases, the toxic gases has major huge impact to the countries, can make cause a huge can make a huge disturbance to the country's biodiversity. And another example is overexploitation. Many villages around these forest patches depend on the villages on the forest for the fuel wood and also medicinal plants. And also a recent example, if you take context of Sri Lanka, the cutting down of Aquilaria trees, the agar wood, which is termed very expensive in the area. So these forests have been cleared from these species. And also the over exploitation of fish is also a major issue and is causing a huge threat to the country's biodiversity. So, does climate change affect the biodiversity of a country? Most of the people in Sri Lanka are unaware how the climate change impacts the biodiversity of the country. But actually, there are many ways in which climate change is gradually causing a huge threat to the biodiversity, and also these threats are increasing very rapidly. So, in the following slides, I'll be explaining a few of these threats. So one major issue caused due to climate change is the change in distribution patterns of species. For example, the photograph shows a bird termed the green imperial pigeon, which was mainly found early in the dry zone. It was kind of a rare bird. But now, gradually, due to the temperature rise, these birds have spread throughout the country, and now it is a common sighting is in Colombo as well. So these species, like since when the temperature increases, these species their distribution increases. But for the other species, for example, species living in cold areas, they do not have any place to move. So these will result in extinction of these species with the increase in temperature. Another major concern is the temperature definitely affects the gender ratio of reptiles, especially turtles and alligators. So when the temperature rises, the female offspring increases. So with climate change, there's an increase in temperature. So more and more female offspring will be produced, and there will be a gender imbalance. So gradually in future, these species will reduce in numbers because they cannot reproduce because the gender ratio is imbalance. Another issue is the depletion of water resources. So as you all know, now there are prolonged droughts in the country, and the water is not properly managed. So this causes less water for the species living in these forests. So what happens is they tend to come into the villages in seek of these necessary requirements, and as a result, the animal-human conflict could gradually rise, and this could be also a result of the increase of the human-elephant conflict as well. And finally, the saltwater intrusion. So when the sea level rises, the water tend to come into the island's freshwater. This actually creates a huge threat to the freshwater fish. Their reproducing waters changes, so the fish diversity and the species which live around the water areas is under huge threat. So every year, the World Wildlife Day is celebrated on the 3rd of March. And this year, the theme is Forest and Livelihoods, Sustaining People and Planet. So here, the main aim of these days is to create awareness among the general public, and to educate them on the importance of the protection of this wildlife and biodiversity, which would help in protecting them. So Slyke and Trust has been working a lot in policy level and also as groundwork. So I have included few of examples of the groundwork conducted by Slyke and Trust to protect with these projects, which has helped to protect the biodiversity and wildlife of the country. Starting with the mangrove restoration. So over the past 2 to 3 years, Slyke and Trust has worked in 3 major sites. One in the Jaffna district in the Kaputu Lagoon, where over 700 mangrove species had been mangrove individuals have been planted, and also at Kalpitia at the kite surf in Lanka, close to 3,000 mangrove individuals had been planted, and also the Dikkovita Lunava Lagoon located in Gampaha. Here, close to 50 individuals has been uh, planted. Actually, out of the three, the Lunava Dikkovita Lagoon plays a major role. As you could see, it has been situated in a urban habitat. So it also provides a habitat for other species as well, the urban habitat. So a biodiversity survey conducted at this lagoon by Slyke and Trust has recorded over 37 species of birds, and also it provides a home for a variety of reptiles, butterflies, and dragonflies. So this shows by protecting sites like this supports the diversity of mangroves as well as other species which depend on them. And further, we have been in future also we are going to conduct further activities in these areas. So these are some photographs included on our mangrove restoration work. Actually, when doing these projects, we have built partnerships with the government sector, private sector, schools, as well as other universities when conducting these, and also the local communities in the area when conducting these projects, so that people get more aware and the more work could be done. And also another important project activity that Slyke and Trust conducted was a nursery was established is in one of the mangrove sites at Kalpitia. Here, the mangrove nursery is conducted by the local communities. By doing so, the mangrove plants which are being grown could be sold to mangrove restoration projects. So the people in the area finds the income, as well as these projects are helpful in protecting the reforestation of these declining mangroves. In addition to the mangrove restoration done at Dikkovita, another major work was done in cleaning the waste. Multiple cleaning sessions were conducted at this site where close to 10,000 kilos of waste, which include plastic bottles, regiform, and other polluted items, which include also invasive species, were cleared in the area, which helped to clear and make it more safer to the wildlife in the area. In addition to these, several awareness and capacity building programs were conducted to the farmers, especially in regions close to Trincomalee and Anuradhapura. Here, the farmers were educated on how these species and agriculture could be integrated together. For example, the insects living around these paddy fields help in pollination and would improve the harvest of the area. And also, some bird species in the area feed on these insects, so the harmful insects, so act as predators which protect the area. So we try to like give them more knowledge on these areas, so that in future they will try to protect these species. And a main thing that Slyke and Trust has identified is the inclusion of youth into these projects, because the youth is the next generation who are coming up to protect. So sharing knowledge with them is an important aspect, and we have identified that. We have conducted several awareness programs in the same districts, Trincomalee and Anuradhapura, for the youth, like on how you could identify the species in the area, and also how this education could be used for their employability in future. So they, by conducting these awareness programs, they could move into areas such as ecotourism, where they could gain an income, as well as they could protect these species from other dangerous activities. Finally, Slyke and Trust organized a global youth forum for the fifth consecutive time. So this year, last December, we had our event, and it was conducted at two sessions as a national and global session, where youth in across the globe were able to share their knowledge regarding this aspect, since we had two themes related to this area, which is biodiversity and ocean and coastal ecosystems, where the students were able to submit proposals, and these proposals were developed throughout this session. And also during this session, there were key speakers from across the globe where they shared their knowledge, and which was really helpful for the youth to develop their knowledge in this area. So before ending my session, I would like to say that our team at Slyke and Trust are tirelessly working on ways in which we could uh, educate our general public and how we could get together with more stakeholders in protecting this wildlife and biodiversity of our country. So I would like to ask everyone to join us to make a nature comeback with Slack and Trust. Thank you.